Hello YouTube, and happy holidays to everybody, and welcome to the Christmas edition of Cooking for the Culinarily Challenged. Well, it's the holidays, and that means big dinners and lots of cooking. And we are actually going to be hosting Christmas this year for some of our friends and family, and we thought we would take a minute to show you some of our very favorite Christmas dishes. Now, the point of this show is not just to be another cooking show. It's for people maybe like me who had absolutely zero cooking experience and who want to make a really nice dish that they can impress their friends and family with and not kill their guests at the same time. And, as always, we always bring our friend either a full glass of wine or a nice frosty beer, whatever you'd like to have. Just pop one open and join us, and I'll show you what it takes to make these dishes. So a traditional Christmas menu looks like turkey, stuffing, the sweet potatoes or yams. There's maybe a vegetable dish somewhere in there, and then the potatoes and the cranberry sauce. And while we can't show absolutely everything in one of these videos, we thought we'd take a minute to show you some of our favorites. And we don't like to just make them like everybody else makes them. We always like to put our special little twist on them. And last year we had a really successful sort of Indian/Asian type Christmas dinner, and it's super awesome. So we thought we'd take a moment to show you those dishes. We're going to be doing wasabi mashed potatoes, and you might be wondering, what is wasabi? Or if you know what wasabi is, you'll be going, why would you put that into mashed potatoes and ruin perfectly good potatoes? I'm a mashed potato lover, and anything that screws up mashed potatoes will genuinely make me angry. But we've had this dish before, and I can guarantee you it is super, super awesome. Now, we got this at a Whole Foods. Hopefully you have a grocery store in your area that carries this powder. It's extremely, extremely, extremely hot. So we're going to use it in very small quantities, and a little bit is going to make a big difference. And we have all the usual suspects. We've got our potatoes, we've got our butter, and we've got our salt and pepper, which is kind of optional. It's sort of up to you whether you want to use those or not. Some people like to put other things in their mashed potatoes like milk and lemon and all that other stuff. This is all we're going to be using for this dish. Our second dish that we're going to cram into this episode is our special Brussel Sprouts. Say that 10 times after you've been drinking. And that is going to involve chicken stock, which is the Brussels sprouts are going to simmer in. We're going to use probably about twice this amount of Brussels sprouts. We've got a little bit of olive oil just to kind of coat the bottom of the pan with. We've got our turkey bacon, which is going to help.
Putting cranberries in Brussels sprouts?
Well, I was just going to say, some of you might be wondering what these are, because these are actual cranberries. Most of my viewers may not have seen a cranberry that didn't come in the shape of a can.
Or a juice.
Yes. So this is the real thing. And this is actually going to be the next episode that we do. This is your little teaser for what we're going to be doing tomorrow. We're going to make fresh cranberry sauce a la the Debt Fox family from scratch.
And it's awesome.
And our final ingredient for tonight's dish, though, 1 shallot. All right, let's get cooking.
Okay, before we move on, who gave us this Brussels sprout recipe?
This Brussels sprout recipe came from a very close friend who's no longer with us.
And she's mixed.
Yeah. Now, Jay is used to referring to his deputy friends by their last name because that's how they all talk to each other. So, Dinzer, thank you very much, and we're thinking of you this Christmas. Okay, everybody, so we're going to start off with our wasabi mashed potatoes because they take a little bit longer than the Brussels sprouts. Now, the first thing they want to do is to prep the potatoes, and that means peeling them and cutting them into sections. Now, through the magic of video, we already have that done.
You mean I did it?
Yeah, well, slave labor, whatever. Now, don't fret about the size of any of the stuff that we cut up. If it's really important it be a certain size, I'll let you know.
Yeah, you really can't mess up. You can't mess up mashed potatoes.
Yeah, and the smaller you cut the potatoes, the quicker they'll cook. So just bear that in mind. Now, we've got our potatoes cut. We have our gigantic pan of water on the stove beginning to boil. And we are going to very, very, very carefully add our potatoes in. without burning ourselves. Okay. Now while that starts to go through its boil, we're going to move on to our first step for our Brussels sprouts, which is to cook our bacon. Now our recipe says 3 pieces of bacon. We're actually going to bump it up because we really like it, and we're going to use 6.
And what kind of bacon are you using?
We're using turkey bacon, but you can use any kind of bacon you would like to use.
You could even use a vegetarian product because they have vegetarian bacons.
Because what we're really looking for here is just for this bacon to simmer in with the chicken stock and the Brussels sprouts and impart its flavor. It's going to be cut up so small that it's really just adding its impact to the rest of the dish. Okay? And while these are cooking, we are going to move on to make our wasabi.
Now it's important to let the wasabi sauce sit. So as soon as you put your potatoes in, you really want to start mixing that so it has a chance to set.
Right. So, now the instructions say 1 teaspoon with enough water to make a fairly thick paste. We're going to use 3 teaspoons because it's going to a rather large quantity of potatoes. Oops. Okay, a little bit on my hands.
Now what is wasabi? Isn't it for sushi?
It is, yes. It's like a horseradish kind of thing, but it's like way hotter than that. Now, I got a little bit on my fingers. That happens when we cook. Do not put your hands in your mouth or rub your eyeballs. Wash when you are done working with this. Okay, so we've got that in there. Let's dust that off. Just enough water to turn this into a paste, so just a dribble. Grab yourself a fork. And it's better to start with less water and work up, because it's okay not to have enough water to add more. You have too much water, then you have to add more wasabi.
Now, are these potatoes super hot, or are they okay?
They're not super hot. I would actually put them between mild and medium.
And why is it you like the wasabi mashed potatoes so good? What's so good about them?
Because I love everything hot.
Yeah, but they're not really hot, because our kids eat them and like them.
Yeah.
And they would not touch them if they were hot.
Oh no, they would not.
So.
Okay. So we're just going to keep mixing. And normally you would use a smaller container for this, but I don't happen to have a smaller container. Okay, so let's get started on those Brussels sprouts. But before we move on to any step, salute. We always need a little bit of liquid courage when I'm cooking in the kitchen. So, we are going to move on to the Brussels sprouts while our bacon is cooking and while our potatoes are boiling. And what we're going to do first is, once we've got our pan sort of warming here on the oven, we're going to use 1 tablespoon of oil.
Olive oil.
Yeah, and we are going to just pour that in and turn that around the bottom of the pan.
It really helps if you have a non-stick pan, because it makes it so that nothing sticks together, which is awesome.
Oh yeah, we've cooked on stainless steel and it does not necessarily work out as well as the non-stick pan does. Okay, and we are going to take our shallots and we're going to sprinkle those in. Let's make sure we're high enough to get going. And once that's warmed up, that's going to saute, and we're going to saute those for about 1 to 2 minutes. We don't really want to caramelize them. We just want them to start to look a little bit glassy and just sweat them, basically. Okay? So we're going to make sure we're moving those around so that they don't get stuck on the bottom of the pan.
So I think your bacon's done. You might want to turn that off.
Yeah, it's time to get the bacon off the fire. Bacon went too fast. Bacon can wait. All right. Have your plate on standby. Okay. So, Daddy J, what makes this dish so special?
Well, I mean, I love Brussels sprouts anyways, but usually the kids don't like them. And for some reason, when you make them this way, they're awesome.
They are. They're really good.
They're the tastiest Brussels sprouts I've ever had. They're very Christmassy. I mean, you take a good vegetable and you make them fattening.
And last Christmas, everybody was coming back for...
Selena, come here.
Potty.
You gotta go potty? Okay, why are you sneaking by the camera? What are you wearing? Did you skin Chewbacca?
Hi. No.
No. Okay. So do you like these Brussels sprouts? Our Christmas Brussels sprouts? Yeah, they're good. What about our wasabi mashed potatoes?
I haven't.
You've had those. Yeah. Okay, go to the bathroom before you pee. Bye.
Bye. Love you.
Love you too. See, she does love me, Daddy Bryan. She does.
Yeah, when she's not more interested in Justin Bieber or SpongeBob. Okay, so our shallots have cooked down and they're just a little bit soft. Now it's time to add in our Brussels sprouts. So we're going to put them in our pan. Carefully, carefully, carefully. And we're actually going to do a little bit more.
Because they're really good and everybody will eat lots of them.
Yep.
So how many Brussels sprouts is it? About 2 pounds worth?
And those are cleaned, for the people who notice that. So this is about 2 pounds of Brussels sprouts, and we're putting them in our pan, and we're just going to stir them around in the oil so that they get coated in the oil. So while these are cooking, this is an excellent time to take a sip. And to check our potatoes. So let's take a moment, make sure we've got a towel, and see how our potatoes are doing. Now, how you check the potatoes is we put a fork in them, and if the fork passes easily all the way down in, pretty far, and then we want to be able to easily go down into the entire potato, and it may even fall apart. Those aren't quite ready yet. So we're going to put our lid back on and let those cook a little more. In the meantime, let's check our Brussels sprouts. Ooh, those look awesome.
They smell good already.
And they have that color that you're kind of looking for. So we've coated them with the oil, and they're sauteing with the shallots, and they're getting just that little bit of a brown crispy edge to them, which means we're ready for our next step, which is...
And how much chicken broth do you add?
Well, we've chosen to do 1.5 cups. You can always do more. You want to have enough chicken broth basically for all your Brussels sprouts to be able to simmer in them. And we're going to pour that in. And I'll let that settle down. And so this is about 1.5 cups for this quantity of Brussels sprouts. So now that our chicken broth is in, we are going to make sure that there's enough in there to cover all our Brussels sprouts. And they don't have to be underneath the surface, but at least in contact with it. And this is where we add our salt and pepper to taste. Now I'm going to add just a little bit. Pinch. Sprinkle it in. Make sure we stir that around. Now, I found that this dish is pretty good without the salt. So if you want to leave that out, awesome. So we're going to turn our heat down to about medium and put our lid back on. And it's going to cook for about 10 minutes. And I say about because it's like the potatoes. When you hit close to your 10-minute mark, you're going to want to take one of these guys out and either cut it in half with a knife or put a fork in it. And if the knife or fork goes easily through it, you are done. So, with every step, we make sure we've got our old standby. Because nothing goes better with food than wine. And we're going to take a moment while our Brussels sprouts are cooking, but not quite done, to add our bacon. It's really
So how long have you let them cook since we last seen you?
It's probably been about 5-ish minutes.
Okay, so about halfway done.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, people who aren't used to cooking are very detail-oriented, so when you tell them 5 minutes, it's going to be 5 minutes on the dot. 5-ish minutes. Okay, so in go our bacon. And yes, grammarians, I said in go our bacon. Okay. Okay, that's good. And we're going to stir that in. So that has a chance to cook down with everything else.
Now, you never put any pepper in it. You just don't like pepper in it? Or what's
No,
the deal?
I love pepper, but the family tends to complain when I put things like that in food.
So you wait and you add it afterwards?
Yeah, I add it to my own.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to let that cook together for a little while, and I can see those Brussels sprouts are probably getting very close to done. And we're going to move on to drain our potatoes since those are done. Poof! My mitt is in place. Okay. We're going to come right over to the sink and drain our potatoes into a colander. Ooh, hot. I hope I have eyebrows after we're done. So, when I first started cooking for the kids a long time ago, I was really happy just to put spaghetti on the table. I never in a million years dreamed I would be doing something like mashed potatoes, but it's really easy and nothing to be afraid of. Okay, so all our water is out. We're going to very carefully put those into our bowl. Okay. And if you're lucky enough to have somebody working with you, this is a good time to get that rinsed. And we're going to take our butter. We have 1 whole stick of butter, which we've had somebody nicely chop that up for us.
Somebody was me.
And we're going to slide that right... It doesn't slide. We're going to force it to go in there, whether it wants to go or not. Get in there, you.
So you want to pretty much put your butter in first, and you want to get that all mixed in before you stick your wasabi in there.
Right, and start mashing.
Now another thing that you can add, which helps with wasabi, is some heavy whipping cream. But sadly, I forgot to buy some.
You know, you can use milk, just use a little bit less, because otherwise it gets really loose and wet, and that's not so good with mashed potatoes.
Now another good thing about these potatoes is you don't really need gravy for them because they are so tasty. Although we are making a curry turkey gravy, which goes awesome with the wasabi mashed potatoes.
Are we showing them that, Daddy?
No, we're not.
Bye.
Why are we talking about it?
Because they need to know what we're putting on it. Okay. Are you leading? What did you make?
Snowflake.
You make snowflakes? Wow, we should have showed people how to make those. Those are really cool.
I made a baby snow.
Yeah, very cool. You gonna hang those around the house? Are you getting ready for Christmas? Yeah, what do you think Santa's bringing you this year?
We haven't went to the mall yet.
Huh? You haven't asked Santa yet? Oh.
We haven't went to the mall.
Yeah, well what do you want for Christmas?
Orbeez.
What do you want?
Orbeez and Squeakies.
Okay, well I love you.
Orbeez are kind of things that you put your hands in, and they different colors your nail.
Okay. Why don't you go decorate the house with your snowflakes, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, so we can see that our potatoes are still just a little bit on the thick side, so we are going to add just the tiniest bit of milk. Just a little bit. Not too much.
This is where the heavy cream makes them really good, because it really thickens them.
It certainly does, but the milk will do in a pinch if you don't have the heavy cream, because somebody forgot to buy it at the store. Okay, so our potatoes are mashed. And I'm just bringing all our wasabi together, and whoo, my goodness. I really don't recommend that you stand directly over the bowl of wasabi because it's pretty intense. Okay, so we're going to very carefully add that in. No, you don't have to be that careful, just get it in there. And then we're going to mix all that together. Make sure you get this mixed really well. I'm using my masher because I can.
Now the potatoes and the heavy cream really does mellow out the wasabi sauce. If you ate it by itself, it'd be extremely hot.
Oh, trust me. My kids don't like anything even remotely spicy. If they walk anywhere near something that looks like it might be spicy somewhere in a past life 3 generations ago, they won't touch it. And they've eaten seconds of this.
And it's really good.
It's good stuff, yeah.
I mean, it just makes boring mashed potatoes that much more special.
Mashed potatoes are never boring.
Well, it makes them really unique, especially for holidays.
It does, yes, it does. First time I ever had this recipe, I was hooked. So, I'm going to make sure we get that well mixed in, especially for your guests who might not have had this before. And then it's ready to put it on a plate. Okay, so Daddy Bryan is just about done cooking, and you'll know because his glass is almost empty. It's official! Our Brussels sprouts are done too, because their liquid is gone as well. Now, that's exactly what we want to see. And those look just about perfect. So both our dishes are ready to plate. Now, I realize that as novice chefs, that this was probably a little bit complex because we did 2 dishes at once. Just separate it out, do one at a time, and I guarantee you that you can do it too, because believe me, if I can do it in someone eats seconds, you can do it. Okay. All right. Hold on. Okay. So now it's time for the ultimate taste test. You think food critics are tough? You haven't met Miss Selena, pickiest eater in the universe. So, Miss Selena, would you like to give it a try? Woo!
Yummy.
Good stuff. Oh no! It's all over the counter. That's how good it is.
Now, are you paying her to say yummy, or does she really like it?
I'll never tell.
Now, what about the mashed potatoes? Try those.
Oh, hey, she's choosing the Brussels sprouts over the mashed potatoes. She's taking a second bite of the mashed potatoes.
Are they good?
She's taking a third bite. There are no throw-up faces. Win! You too can make this dish for your guests, and I guarantee you they probably will not be quite as picky as Miss Selena. But this is a little bit of a sampling of our holiday dinner, and we hope that you enjoy it as well. Tomorrow's episode will be fresh cranberry sauce, and I guarantee you it's not as daunting as it sounds. See you tomorrow, YouTube.